These 9 people, plus a suspect, are dead after a mass shooting in BC yesterday. There are 2 crime scenes with multiple victims at each location. We're joined now by P.Y. Boudreau. He is the former Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP. Thanks for making time for us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
Mr. Bourdois, sorry about that. BC RCMP say 6 people were found dead inside the school. Another died while being taken to hospital. There were 2 other victims found inside a home. RCMP also confirming that the suspected shooter died of self-inflicted injuries. Where does the investigation go this morning?
Well, it's actually a very complicated investigation, and the RCMP at this juncture, I am positive, are gathering as much information as possible from the scene, gathering all the position of the victims, and first and foremost, the motive. And I'm sure that's the main question that a lot of people have in mind this morning following this terrible tragedy is why. And that is one of the reasons why the RCMP is thoroughly investigating not only the scenes and trying to gather as much information as possible, but also the motive behind this particular individual's ultimate action that resulted in the death of so many people in such a small community.
Yeah, 2,400 people. And, you know, although we were not given any confirmation from the RCMP yesterday in their update about who the victims are, the age of the victims, or the shooter for that matter. But because it happened in a school, we can assume that they're either students were involved or at least witnessed the event. And so there'll be social media. And so talk to me about where the investigation goes in terms of looking at things like Snapchat, which is where a lot of teenagers speak and communicate these days.
Of course, but there's also, what was interesting is I tracked everything that happened last evening, and the RCMP had obviously good intention to have the chief superintendent responsible for that district provide answers to communities that were waiting for answers. But the unfortunate part of it all is because the investigation is at its infancy stage, it's pretty hard for the RCMP to provide, for instance, key questions around a motive, caliber of the weapon used, victim names, and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of frustration online following the RCMP press conference. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that hopefully will be answered in the not so distant future. But currently the RCMP, I'm sure, are working day and night trying to secure as much information as possible to be able to share with the public and also managing this tragedy. They came out indicating that the lone suspect died of self-inflicted wounds, but the fact of the matter is, was she assisted by somebody else? And if so, in what sense? So these are questions that remain unanswered and hopefully will be in the coming days.
One thing we do know for certain is the impact on a small community like this. You know, when part of that RCMP conference last night, they were talking about the clinic that was doing triage and that some of the victims had to be airlifted to larger centers where there were hospitals. But we are talking about 9 victims here. And the impact on a small community where you're dealing with a small clinic, you know, what happens with coroners' offices, for example? Like, where does this investigation go outside of this small community?
Well, the investigation, because the RCMP have a ton of resources, and the location is right next to K-Division, Alberta, and E-Division, BC. So I am sure that the RCMP have pooled their resources together, and they're providing the community with all the support they can, and also with the experts within this police force. They will gather as much evidence as possible, trying to reassure as soon as practical the community and the province around what actually transpired. I am sure that they will have also, as the Premier indicated yesterday, they will have all the appropriate resources to ensure that they will find answer as soon as practical.
I'm going to pull on your expertise here, and just as our final question, what stands out from you from what you've learned so far, and what are you watching for next?
Okay, so what stood out for me is Premier Eby that mentioned at a press conference that the RCMP's response was immediate. They were at the scene within 2 minutes. And in his comments, he's indicated that chances are that prevented further casualty to happen because of the quick response of the RCMP. And what should transpire next is that the RCMP will try to secure as much evidence as possible and will share with the community, the troubled community, as much answer as they could possibly, just to reassure them that everything has been done in order to find answers to the unthinkable.
P.Y. Bourdois, former Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP. We really appreciate you joining us this morning as we continue, along with the rest of the country, to look for answers in this devastating crime out in BC. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.